Everybody, hey, welcome. I say the two words and I just repeat them. I guess that's my intro, huh? Well, welcome everybody to today's Tech Talk, one that I'm excited about because I think that VS Code is awesome, and I think it's had its time to kind of get into the market and show up and say, hey, this is what I can offer, and I think a lot of people have switched over to it. So, welcome everybody. Let's get this chat going. I actually have not slept all night, so let's keep the energy high. Let's keep it going. I'm going to bring chat in and say good morning to Ted. Good morning, Pavel. Hello. I like are there like slashes there, or am I just like sleep deprived? I'm pretty sure there's slashes there, right? So, welcome everybody. And if you could help me out, let me know in chat if you have used VS Code, what your current editor is. What's up, Love Cash? Good to see you. Thanks for showing up. David Zinn, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Actually, while we're here, let's do some intros. My name is Chris Sev. I am a developer advocate at DigitalOcean. I am coming in from Las Vegas, Nevada. Let me know when you're coming in from. Arkoladny, good morning. Is that Naben? Hi there. Ryan Olson, what's up? Good to see you again. Mycon, morning. All right, we've got a VS Coder here. Most of my time in WebStorm and Ruby mine. Okay, let's see if what we do today maybe can get you over to the VS Code side, even though WebStorm, fantastic editor. What's up, Hebilog? Yeah, I got to get the coffee. This is only water right now. I'll jump back on Love Cash. Oh my gosh, look at this chat. I got to slow it down. PHP Storm for Kafelek. Pankaj says, VS Code, greetings from Germany. What's up, Peter? Welcome. Pablo from Argentina, welcome. VS Code with Laravel and React, solid setup right there. I support. Good morning, Fort Collins. What's up, Andres? The upgrade to Sublime 4 prompts. Oh, is Sublime 3 giving you those prompts, Sean? What's up, Igor from Brazil? Juan, AJ, welcome. Good morning. How'd you get that icon in there? All right. Well, let's get moving. We have a good hour here. I think I have a lot of good tips here. Let's talk about our agenda here. I want to show you a lot of the best VS Code features and setups. So with that in mind, I definitely want to go through some of my favorite VS Code features, some of the stuff that I don't think people use often. And I want to point out that this is going to be like a productivity-focused tech talk. I want to help you at least come away with maybe 2 or 3 tips today that can make you a faster coder that you can use today. And then after that, we're going to go into some of my favorite fonts, coding fonts. What's up, John? What's up, Albie? George? Sean, that's too bad about Sublime Text 3 doing its thing. I came from Sublime Text, really big fan of Sublime Text, but coming over to VS Code, I find it's just so awesome. And it still has all of the Sublime Text stuff. What's up, Thomas from Boston? Let's go, John Franco. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to do favorite themes as well. I have a couple here, and then I'm going to do favorite extensions. And then I'll do a little bit of my current setup for maybe you can bring it into your settings and everything. So let's get started. Let's jump into it. I am going to, let's get the setup going. Where am I? Okay. All right, so here we are at code.visualstudio.com, and I will be dropping links throughout the chat if you want to just like follow along. Sean, congrats on the job from Upwork. What's up, Mario from South Africa? So here's VS Code, and I'm not going to go through the install or anything. I already have it installed, and what I have here is VS Code. So VS Code is really cool, but it has a lot of great features, but I think we can do a lot more to make this a better looking editor. And to show that off, I'm going to go ahead and drag in a folder here. So I have a folder on my desktop. I'm just going to drag it over. And that's how I open the folder. This is a Next.js application right here. Yes, I trust the authors of this folder. They just added that recently. I'm not the biggest fan. So what we have here is a VS Code, bare bones, no new extensions, no settings. And if I opened up pages, app.js, this is what it looks like, right? Can I get some syntax highlighting? There we go. So there we are, zoomed in, and you probably see a lot of people with this setup. So let me talk about the setup. Over here on the left, you have the activity bar. Here you have the sidebar. On the bottom, you have the status bar. Over here is your main editor. You have tabs, breadcrumbs, and the minimap. So a lot of people you'll see with this setup, but what my current setup is, and I set it up I had to download the VS Code Insiders app so that I could have two VS Codes side by side. So my setup looks more closer to this, where I have pretty much hidden everything. I have increased the line height. I've brought in my personal fonts that I like, brought in my theme that I like, and this is how I code. And then when I need to bring in the sidebar, I'll open it. Actually, let me open up my helper app. When I need to open up the sidebar, I'll do Command B, and that'll open up the sidebar over there. Let me increase that. So a lot of my VS Code setup is very focused around keyboard shortcuts, and we'll talk about all of those that I use, so maybe you can bring some of them into your workflows today. So I'll hide the sidebar, and this is just my setup, right? Like if I need to open a file, I'll do Command P, and I'll do like don't open env local. That's got all the secrets. I'll go into globals.css, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and go into the starting VS Code, and let's see how we can set this up. Okay, so we did a walkthrough of everything in the UI. What I want to start with is something called the command palette. Now, you'll hear me say this a ton in this tech talk, that you should not use the mouse if you can avoid it. You need to stay in your keyboard shortcuts to be a little bit more productive. You don't let your fingers leave the home row. So what I'm going to do here is everything in our menu right here. If I go up here, file, there's new file, new window, open, all this good stuff here, editor for copy and paste. Everybody knows here that copy and paste is Command C or Control C if you're on Windows, and Control V if you want to paste, right? And we couldn't do without those keyboard shortcuts. So the ones to worry about in VS Code is called the command palette. And the command palette is activated with Command-Shift-P. Now, the cool thing about this command palette is pretty much everything you can do in VS Code is in here. So let's say I wanted to hide this activity bar on the side. I could just do Command-Shift-P, activity bar, and now we have this toggle activity bar visibility option here. I'll click that, and we've hidden that left bar over there. And we can do the same to bring it back, Command-Shift-P, and you'll see that the recent ones are already up here. Toggle activity bar visibility. We'll turn this on again, and there we go. So I just want you to be aware of that keyboard shortcut. So let's keep going and talk about more of the basics, and we'll bring in the command palette as we see fit throughout this. So what I want to do here is open up app.js. Now, this doesn't look the greatest compared to what we have over here. We have some nice line heights over here, nice theme over there. We'll bring that in a second. So coming back over here, one thing I want to talk about is multi-editing, multi-line editing, multi-cursor editing. This is something that anybody from Sublime Text is going to be familiar with, that VS Code has also. So what I'll do here is I'm going to say, let's go ahead and create a list, and I'll say const, I don't know, people is equal to an array here. Array of objects, we'll do name is going to be, let's bring in Leonardo in the chat. I'm just going to pull names from chat. So if you want to jump in this, throw some chat messages in and say, hey, let's say Shang from here. And let's say name is Logan. Logan has a great question, and I'll throw Ted in as well. Awesome. And then Paul Sr. and David. Okay. I love it. But we gotta let's move forward. So what we have here is a bunch of people. Normally, if you wanted to change some of these people out, and I'll start messing around with this, you would have to go into each one and say, okay, well, I don't want to replace anybody, but let's throw Thomas in here. Let's throw Pankaj in here. So normally you would have to do that, right? And then let's say I wanted to change this name to be something else. Well, I would go here and try, let's say, I don't know, full name, if we wanted to do that. What VS Code does really well is called multi-cursor editing, where you can click here. I'm going to hold the Option key, and I'll click here, and you can click in multiple places. And now I can delete in multiple places, say full name, like that. So that's a cool way to bring in multi-cursor editing. And this is just a quick showcase of it, but you can do a lot. And one thing you can do is do Command D to select the next instance of that word. So you do Command D a bunch of times, and you can go back to name. So that's something you'll see me use a lot. Let's talk about some other of the built-in features that are really great. Let's say I wanted to run this project. So normally I would have to go into my terminal over here, iterm, bring an iterm, find the folder, do an npm install, and then an npm run dev. So what you can do here is there's a built-in terminal with VS Code so that you never have to leave VS Code. And this is what I like about VS Code that kind of is a benefit over something like Sublime Text. So to open up the terminal, you can do Command-Shift-P, terminal. Let's see, open new external terminal. I think that's it. Let's see, open terminal. Oh, not external. All right, well, I don't know what the command palette one is, but I know that the keyboard shortcut is Control tilde. And that opens up the palette here, and then I can do npm install. And then I'll do Control tilde to hide that, let that thing run. I don't need to look at it until I go back and do npm run dev. So I'll run that, Control tilde. So this is a really cool workflow because you never have to leave VS Code. You have it all just right here. So the built-in terminal is fantastic. Really, really great to get in the habit of using it. Son asks, do I use Vim? I do. And we can talk about using Vim inside of VS Code. Shortcut in Windows should be Control D. And let me drop a link for you all in the chat. Let's go to, actually, I'm going to go to the VS Code docs. Check this out. If you go to docs right here, under get started, under key bindings, I know it's hard to find, and then under here, keyboard shortcut reference, you can click on your keyboard shortcut reference, and this will be something that you can print out. This is something you can keep on your desk and make sure that you can like commit these to memory and try to do all the things. So I'm going to do a lot of these in this rest of this tech talk. I'm going to paste this link in chat so you can all use this. Oh, sorry, Igor. If you were asking about the terminal, yes, it should be Control backtick. Brian Sanchez, I think I have seen that, but really just get to know your keyboard shortcuts as far as like use that reference sheet. And I don't know, I guess it takes just practice as with all keyboard shortcuts. All right, let's talk about my second favorite feature. We just talked about the terminal. Number 2 of why VS Code is awesome, which I haven't been in Sublime Text in a while. I don't know if they have GitHub integration yet. So here is this little source control thing right here, and it says one pending change. And thanks, Lovekesh. So we can click this and we can see all of the files that were changed in here. Let me zoom out. And it says, hey, you changed app.js. You can either stage it and commit and then push, or if you wanted to, you could click this and see what changes you are. So here I added all these people in, and it's here you can see like, oh, do I want to commit this change? I could probably go in here and undo this change with this discard button, or I can press plus and stage the changes, which is the same as git add. So I can go here and git add. And now we can commit these and say added awesome people. And I'll click this little checkbox, and that will that will commit those changes. And then if I want to commit these and push, I can go here and click push. Thomas, could you expand on that? Let me show you a little bit of how I set this up. So the branch ready has no upstream branch. Would you like to publish this branch? Yes, that's cool. So what this is doing is that if you've ever pushed a new branch to GitHub, it says, hey, you should do git push set upstream branch, whatever that is. This does it for you. So you can click OK. Brian, no, I agree. The terminal is a lot of fun. So let's say I added in somebody new. Oh, that's edit only. Let's go ahead and bring in Brian here. And let's bring in Son here and Thomas as well. Thomas, you're in there twice. So here we are. Here's new changes. And I want to show you a quicker way to do this. If I am here, so I'll close the sidebar. The way I usually do this is if I see some changes, I'll go into my Git panel with Control-Shift-G. Command-Shift-G? Command-Shift-G. And what I'll do is I'll click it, see if I like the changes. And then what you do here is you just type in new people. And instead of doing the stage plus commit thing, you can just do command enter, and that will do stage and commit. And you can say always do a stage and commit. And now if I wanted to push this, you could do a couple different ways. The cool thing about VS Code is there's like 3 different ways to do everything. So there's this button down here in the status bar. It says push one commit to origin ready, which is your GitHub repo or wherever you have your Git repo at. Over here, you can do this git push right here. But what I usually do, I avoid both of those, and I'll do the command palette like we saw earlier, Command-Shift-P, push. And you just do it right from there. So with the terminal, all this work here, with the Git panel right here, a lot of your workflow has already just got brought back into VS Code. Yeah, Command B, you've already seen me use Command B like 100 times. So let's see. The other cool things about VS Code, which really doesn't show here, let's do a console.log, is IntelliSense. So VS Code's IntelliSense is fantastic as far as it just gives you code hints and tells you what you might want to see or what you might want to write. So VS Code does this great. I know that WebStorm probably has just as great, if not better, IntelliSense since it's got a lot of features built in. I think the IntelliSense in VS Code is a little bit better than Sublime Text. Love Kesh and Brian say GitLens is awesome. Yes, GitLens is awesome. We're going to talk about some extensions after pretty soon, actually. Let me add GitLens to that list. The cool tool I am using to show my key presses is called Keycaster. All right, so let's talk about some other stuff. How are we on time? 8:20. Okay. So the other cool thing is, let's say I had a new file. Let's change the language of this, and I'm going to do this from the command palette language mode. And I'm going to change the language mode to HTML. we have a feature called Emmet built into VS Code. Emmet is a tool that helps you write HTML, markup, CSS. It's not specific to VS Code. It's pretty much in all editors. So if I did exclamation mark, you can see it says, hey, you want an Emmet abbreviation? This is what it will create. So this is the snippet that it will create. So I'll say, okay. And I pressed enter there. So what we'll have here now is you can say, all right, well, let's have a div class on that is minimum height of screen. Let's do flex. Let's do item center, justify center. Inside of that, I want an H2, and then the H2 will probably have text 5XL. And these are Tailwind classes, by the way. Let's do font extra bold. And then next to that, I'll have a P tag and says, hi, everybody. You can see this is what Emmet is about to generate for us, and I can press tab, and all of that will just get generated for us. Title here. Cool. So that's Emmet built into VS Code. You can use that in HTML, in your JavaScript files, in your PHP, whatever files. Cool. So that's a lot of that stuff. Let's start talking about making this look prettier. And I know there was a question earlier about my line height over here. Actually, that might be a little high for what I usually use. Sometimes I increase the line height when I need to take screenshots for Twitter. So let's go back over here. Let's talk about fonts. So there's a really great site for fonts, which is called Coding Fonts. And let me go bring this up. Coding-fonts.css-tricks.com. So let me drop this chat link in the chat. Okay, so the cool thing about this, yeah, Brian, I should have done like a div times 50 or something. The cool thing about this is you can just click through, find whatever font you like the best. Comic Code is Comic Sans in monospace format, if you are into that. My favorite fonts, I'll show you, let's do 3 of them. So my favorite fonts are, where is Fira Code? Where are you? Fira Code is one of my favorite fonts. I think it's fantastic. It's a free font. Let's see. The other one is a paid font, which I think is awesome, but it is an expensive font. So that would be Operator Mono. Lovecash, yes. Polo Code is a fantastic extension. And then my current one that I use, which is also free, is Cascadia Code. Brian, yes, good call. Cool. So those are fonts. I'm going to go ahead and go to my VS Code and set up Cascadia Code. So if I go here, we haven't talked about settings yet. Actually, I'll keep that. The way we do settings is we do Command, comma, which opens up the settings panel. And what's cool is you get this nice UI for your settings. You can just click through, find whatever setting you need, and update it. If you needed to open the settings, also there's the command palette, Command Shift P, and then you go Command Palette, or sorry, you go Settings. Then you can open Settings, the UI version, not the JSON version. Akash says, any good fonts for Python? I think all of the fonts on that list would be good for Python. Pretty much a coding font just needs to be monospaced, right? Which means every character is the same width. Thomas says settings is a black box for me. Yes, there are maybe too many settings in here. So let me talk about my favorite ones. Let's go with font size. Where did you go? Yeah, here we go. Editor, font size. I think 12 is a little low. I'll bump that up to 16. In addition to font size, there's line height. Now, this is the thing that is the reason why I have such giant spaces in between my lines. So right here, I'm going to actually split the settings out to the right here. There we go. So here on the left, you can see our font got increased. So let's talk about line height over here. Line height. 16 would be a 1-to-1. So that's the same size as the font itself. So that's going to be pretty much no space. So what I do is probably around 32 to 45, depending on the day. So there's 32, which is essentially twice the size of the font itself. So if your font is 16, this is making it a 2 line height. And that's kind of what I want to drive the point. One of the points I want to drive home is that always be open to changing your settings on the fly. So if I didn't want the activity bar right now, Command-Shift-P, activity bar, let's hide that. If I didn't want the status bar, toggle status bar visibility, let's hide that. And we got a little bit of a cleaner setup. And then if you want to go back into your settings, Command comma to open up your settings. We have two open. Let's go increase that to 38. Notice how it syncs across both, which is what's really cool about VS Code. And I'll close this one. So let's go see what 38 looks like. A little high, maybe. So 32 sounded like the right ticket. And Talpa, that is a great point. Let me show you how I mitigate that fear for myself. So what I'll do here is another keyboard shortcut that's cool to know is Command \. It will open whatever current file is into another group. Okay, so we just talked about fear of updating your settings in VS Code. Sorry, my webcam's in my way, so I just got to find... There's a button around here. Is it up here? Okay, yeah, so it was up here. So if you are in the settings, the way that I am fine with changing settings on the fly and not being afraid of it is up here on the right, you can see show modified settings. And now this will only show the settings that you have changed since the default settings of VS Code. So font size is here, line height is here. We have hidden the activity bar, the status bar. So if I click this, it automatically comes back. And check this out. If I do it from the command palette, activity bar, you'll see that this gets checked down below. So everything's synced up pretty nicely. Well, yeah, so it removed itself from this list because now it's not modified. So this is one way to find it, but I don't actually do it this way myself. What I do is do Command-Shift-P for the command palette and go into settings and go into the JSON version. So click here, and these are the settings that you have changed. So if you ever just want to get back to square zero, just highlight all that, Command-X, just delete it all, save, and check it out. We're back to brand normal. I'll paste those back in, press save, and now they all just immediately take. Lovekesh, very good point. Yes, we can always log in with GitHub, and once we log in with GitHub, and which is down here, this little button, I'm logged in right here. Any other VS Code that is logged in as well will have these settings synced across. And it's not just settings, it's also extensions, which is really nice. And on the topic of extensions, let's get into themes. So themes, what I did here is I opened up the extensions panel. Sorry, I gotta talk through this because I always do the keyboard shortcuts. They're like ingrained, so I just go straight into them. So extensions panel is down here on the sidebar. You can see the keyboard shortcut for Command-Shift-X there. So if I click this, that opens up the extensions and our marketplace here. You can see installed is 0. Let's go ahead and get an extension. Let's just search for theme and see what happens. So here are some great themes. You can see how many people installed each theme. I'm going to go with, let's see. One that I like to start out with is GitHub theme is great. Atom One Dark theme is also good. It's pulled off of the Atom Editor's theme. So let's go ahead and install this. And now you can see the command palette opened up and said, hey, what color theme do you want? We can click Atom One Dark. Lovekesh says, try GitHub. Yep, let's try it. Let's do install. And there we go. There's a light theme. If you're into that, GitHub Dark, which looks great as well. GitHub Dark Dimmed. And it's cool because it gives you this preview. So let's go for GitHub Dark. And if you ever want to get back to that, Command Shift P, and you can do color. So preference, color theme, you just click that, and now you can change all of these. And Shang says, synthwave, let's see it. This is the goofiest one. All right, so here's synthwave. Oh, does it not glow anymore? It used to glow. Cool. So that's themes. You just go into extensions, search for theme, and what you can do is click into each one, see a preview. If you like it, install it. So I don't want Atom One Dark anymore. I'll just go ahead and click those little settings and do uninstall right there. Sean with Darkula Pro. Yeah, Darkula, awesome. Me personally, I use Monokai Pro, which is also a paid theme, but I'm just a big fan of Monokai coming from Sublime Text. The next extension, we want to talk about Material Icon Theme. If I go over here, well, let's install it. I don't want to set the icon theme yet. Let's go into my Explorer. Well, it already worked. So let's go down here. This is normal default VS Code icons. So what I'll do here is Command Shift P, icon theme. And then you go down here, file icon theme. And then you can pick. So there's minimal, there's material, the one we just installed. That's the one I use on a daily basis. There we go. Cool. What are we on? Synthwave? It looks good. Let's drop the status bar. Let's drop the activity bar. This thing up here is called breadcrumbs. I don't use it personally. If you click it, you can see all of the different symbols inside of each file. So all of these names, you can click over here, jump into each file. So you can have all of these breadcrumbs right here. So you can jump into like index.js from that little thing right there. Me personally, I don't use the breadcrumbs because I use the keyboard shortcuts. If I wanted to jump into a file, I would do Command P, and that can search for files. So if I did globals, Command P is also probably my top 5 keyboard shortcuts to open a file. I am using Mac OS, and I believe it's Big Sur. One of my computers is on that new beta, so I don't think it's that one here though. Can't test that on the work computer. It's terrifying stuff. All right, so we're about halfway through. Let's do a check-in with chat. How's everybody doing? Any questions so far on anything? On anything VS Code? On my setup? Look how cool this looks already. I think I might use Synthwave. And Talpa says I use breadcrumbs on 2 levels deep. Thomas, yeah, that's totally fair. I think maybe a good start is to say, hey, look at the VS Code UI and see what haven't you used in the past 2 months. And then maybe try hiding that and then seeing if anything goes wrong. Slow and steady. What is the VS Code 2021 preview? Am I using a preview? This is a preview. I'm using the insiders build here, but this one is the just default build of VS Code. Mohammed says material icon is superb. Yes, it is. Adding Emmet to non-HTML extension files. Sure thing. So let's go here And give me 2 seconds. It's in my notes. So I'm just trying to grab it because it's a very specific place you got to put it. Okay. Han Tran, yes, we can. All right. I love it. Keep the questions coming. I'm going to show you how to add, if I'm in a React file and I wanted to do like div times 5, Emmet doesn't work in here because it only works in HTML files currently. So I'm going to go into my settings and search for Emmet. And here it is, include languages. So right now, it's only HTML by default. You can see here, you can say, hey, JavaScript React, that one is going to work. So I'm going to go add item, JavaScript React. Okay. Now let's go try this out. What's cool is they just give it to you right in the settings and say, hey, this is probably what you want. So I'll go here to div, and there we go. Emmet's working right here, times 5, 50, and say, you're all awesome. 50 times. There we go. All right, let's see. A lot of great questions over here. Entalpa has a great question. How can we select and change the same word multiple times on one document? Sure. So this is something I do daily. And this is something that can be done like 5 different ways, which is awesome. So if I click here, well, let's talk about the different ways. One, I can use multi-cursor editing by holding Option or Alt on Windows and just click a bunch of these, which would take forever. And then I just start deleting like that, right? The other way is I can highlight a word. Actually, you don't even need to highlight. You just need to be in the word. You press Command D. It will select the word. Command D will select the next instance of that word. And then you just keep doing it all the way down, and then you can fix your typo. Another way to do it is Command F. And see how I search for that. And down here, it shows the highlighted versions of that word. I can click here, click replace. I'll replace that with awesome. But I want to show you a couple other ways. So I can do Command F as well. And this would immediately replace all of them. But what if I wanted to go into it and maybe change out parts of that? So I could actually go here. And instead of doing anything like that, I could do Option Enter. And that inserts multi-cursor into all of these. So now I can go click around. Let's say I wanted to change these out to an LI. And now they are LIs. Oh, and then I should also fix the typo. And I know this is like, Chris, how do you know all the shortcuts? A lot of this comes from practice, and a lot of it comes from reading that reference sheet a ton and just making sure that I look and have like that keyboard shortcuts reference next to me. So a lot of practice, a lot of repetition. All right, let's see. How are we doing on time? All right, let's get to some really fun extensions. I'm going to lean a little bit more on the JavaScript side since that's what I've been doing a lot lately. The other cool thing is if you go and search for like Python or PHP, the most popular extensions will come up to the top. So you probably want to install Python for Python to get more IntelliSense. There's already IntelliSense built in for JavaScript. Like let's say PHP, my favorite one from PHP is PHP IntelliSense. This one right here does a great job with PHP. Let's see. All right, let's just go down my little list over here. So first one is Turbo Console Log. And I know you're probably saying, Chris, don't console log all the time. Well, it's just easy. So what I'm doing here is I'll install that extension. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to go over here. And if you want to ever test out what an extension does, usually you can find it in the command palette. So let's say I was over here. Let's click on page props. I can do Command B to hide the sidebar, Command Shift P, Turbo console log. And now you can see all of the things that comes with that extension. So this is something I use to learn about a new extension. So right here, display log message is the one that I'll use. Press enter and it does a console log for you with the thing that you just highlighted. And it also gives you all this information about where it's coming from. So that's one right there. The next one is called browser preview. I'm just going to start speeding through these because it seems like there's a lot of questions on different extensions for, like, let's say Node and all this other things. So I'm going to speed through a bunch. I'm just going to show you a bunch. You can always rewind this video and see them because this video will live on the DigitalOcean YouTube channel. And yeah, let's just keep going and let me know if you have questions. Not sure. This is Synthwave, which is growing on me a lot. Looks really good. Browser preview is one that gives you a browser editor in VS Code. So I'll click install. And now that we have our editor running with localhost 3000, right? I already started this Next.js app. Let's go here. I'm going to go into command palette. We're going to go browser preview. We'll show browser preview. So now you get a browser right inside of VS Code. I'll have to go to localhost 3000 from here. And all sorts of errors because we've done all the crazy things. So let's see, where is this error? App. What line is that? Oh, I need to save this file. There we go. And go ahead and update. There you go. I'm seeing some questions about debugging in VS Code. I think we could call that another tech talk because it is a big topic and they did change how they do it a little bit recently. So yeah, let's call that another tech talk because that is a big topic. All right, so I'm gonna close out the browser preview. Yeah, I think most of the people, the dev advocate team is using VS Code for sure. All right, so that's browser preview. Let's do path IntelliSense. So if I go here and I wanted to import styles, you could do ... and you could just see all of the different files that are there. So VS Code has this built in. It just says, hey, you typed in a slash, you probably want a file. There you go. The other one is GitHub pull requests. There's a GitHub Copilot here. I can do a demo on that later. So here's GitHub pull requests. I'll install this. What's cool about this is if I go and bring back the activity bar, Command Shift P, activity bar. Now we have a new button over here, the little GitHub icon, Octocat. I can click this. And now you can see all of the issues and pull requests for this repo. So there's none right here. But what I can do here is let's go down here and say to do add more awesome people. That extension actually brings in some functionality. Definitely read the docs because it's gigantic what this extension can do. But if I go here and click this little button, you can now create a GitHub issue from anywhere it says to do. So I'll click create GitHub issue. We'll name it add more awesome people. And now it gets numbered and it's getting pushed up to GitHub. So if I refresh this, there we go. Created issues. You could even click to go to github.com and see it. Akash, yes, I will talk about that in a second. All right, the next fun one is Thunder Client. Some of you may have seen this. So let's say I have an API route here. Let's go ahead and see if I have an API, hello, and it just responds with John Doe. I'm going to replace this with Akash and 47. So I'll save that. Let's go install Thunder client. Thomas, I don't use it currently, but that's actually on my list to talk about in a second because they are awesome. So here's Thunder client. I've installed Thunder client. And now you get another icon over here. And if you ever get too many icons, you can always right click this and just hide based on what you don't want. So let's go here, Thunder client. Now you can, it's pretty much Postman kind of in VS Code, which by the way, Postman just raised like $220 million today or something. Bananas. So here we go, new request. I can make a request to localhost 3000/API/hello. Let's see it work. And there we go. We get that back, and we got to do all of that in VS Code. We didn't have to go open Postman or anything like that. And then we can get back to coding. Cool. So that's Thunder client. Let's go back into this app.js. Notice how we have all these typos here. One small extension that's kind of fun is code spell checker. Yeah, Lovecash, they were valued at like 5.6 billion, yeah. What a large number. Cool, so code spell checker, if I go back over here, it should just underline all of my misspellings. So if you have some, don't know why I didn't do all of them, but it just helps when you're writing copy, when you're writing HTML or whatever your templating is. It'll help you out a little bit. All right, let's close a bunch of stuff out. I don't need to save that. Yeah, super cool about that. Yeah, just a lot of Apollo also raised some money recently. Okay, so let's go into, we had a question about this, and these are the remote extensions. So VS Code is really cool because I'm working here locally on my computer, but let's say I wanted to maybe work on a project that's in containers. Maybe I could SSH into a droplet, a DigitalOcean droplet, and work from within there. You can install any of these, and if you're on Windows, you can actually install this to remote into WSL and work from within there. The cool thing about these is that your extensions actually run on the remote server. So it doesn't use up the processing power of your computer. It uses up whatever your remote is. Eleor, I don't know too much about the security of extensions. I remember VS Code wrote an article on it. You'd have to find that. Let's see. Thomas says, do I have a workflow for sharing VS Code as a scratchpad? So there's a cool extension called Quokka. Right on. Good to hear, Akash. So here's Quokka. You can install this, and basically what it does is when you're writing code, it will give you the results in line as a scratchpad. So Quokka is really cool. Let's see. There's two more things I wanted to talk about. Node extensions. I had a question for node extensions. NPM is one. The cool thing about this NPM extension, I'll install it now. Personally, if I can get more stuff into the command palette, I will. So instead of going into the terminal and doing all this stuff here, npm run dev, you can actually now with the npm extension go to Command Shift P, npm install, run that. And then you can do run script. And it actually pulls your scripts from your package.json, so you don't got to like write that in. And then you can do that. So npm is a great extension to have. npm IntelliSense is also another great extension to have. It gives you some autocomplete. And one that I think is really cool is version lens. So if I install version lens, yeah, what's up, Paul Sr.? What's your question? So there is that. I am going to, now that version lens is installed, you can go to package.json. And now you'll see a little V up here for version lens. If I click that, well, let's go down here. Here's all the dependencies for this project. And yes, you're reading that right. There's 3 database dependencies. I was testing something. So you can click show dependency versions. And it actually puts on top of each one, hey, you are running the latest or you are not running the latest version. So you can click right here. It updates it. Click. Click. And then you can run the npm install. So those are 3 really fun Node npm extensions. Let's see. I see a bunch of people highlight text and then move them with the arrow key. So let's go open up app.js. So how... The only ones I really know about are like, let's say I wanted to repeat this line down. It would be Option Command down. No, it would be Shift Option down. And you see I actually miss some of my keyboard shortcuts still. So that's one. If you see somebody do some really fancy stuff, I think you may be seeing some Vim. So if I go ahead and install Vim here. So here's the main Vim package. Me personally, I don't really like it. I use AMVim personally. So here I'll go, and now that I have AMVim installed, now you can move around with as if you were using Vim. So I would like cut that out, maybe move it over here, move this entire line down here. There's a lot you can do with Vim. So maybe you're seeing that. One really cool thing about Emmet also is Command Shift P. You can do outward. So this is something I use a lot. Emmet balance outward. It will select everything in that line. If you do it again, it'll select everything around it. If you do it again, it'll just keep expanding out. And then you can just delete or whatever you need to do. And now we're back here. Tadeo says, have I used VS Code remote mode? I have. It's been a long time since I've done it. My coworker Mason has a tech talk on setting up WSL in VS Code. So it's on this channel. It's already happened. You can search for it here. And one last one that I had questions about earlier is autosave, auto format. This is a setup that I do daily. This is a setup that I hated, but I have found it to make me way more productive. So the settings are, you go into your settings, autosave, turn this on, delay. So that means instead of having to Command S or Control S all the time, the file just automatically saves when you're done typing. So that's that. And then also auto format. Auto format? Yeah. So format on paste, format on type, and then where's format on save? There we go. So format on paste, save, and those two will automatically format your code using the formatter of your choice. So if I'm here, and I did save, it would format it. Like, let's say I moved some of this, didn't format it. So let's go Command Shift P, format. And I don't think it knows how to format this file. So I'm going to go ahead and install pretty much what I think is the default formatter these days, Prettier, which is 14.4 million downloads here. I'll click install. Now, if I go back over here and I click save or format, format, it'll say, hey, there's multiple formatters. Which do you want to use? I can click configure and say, I want Prettier to do the formatting for me. And there we go. So it fixed everything. And now all I have to do is just save, and I don't have to worry about formatting. I did not like the setup at first, auto save, auto format, but I found it very helpful. After maybe it takes 2 weeks to get used to. Does format also optimize imports? No, it does not. There is a setting for imports. Where are you? There's a setting that will clean up and organize your imports for you. I forget what it's called, though, unfortunately. But yeah, that's about everything I had. I didn't even get to touch on debugging, live server, live, like, kind of co-working. Vitenis, good question here. So I'll use this find panel on the left, and we can search and replace. So let's go and say I want to search for this word awesome. It searches for all those. If you wanted to exclude files, folders, whatever, you could click this ... and it has files to include and files to exclude. So then you could just do like a glob pattern to exclude certain things. I believe VS Code already by default ignores node modules, like vendor for PHP, a lot of that stuff. But yeah, wow, time flies when you're having fun, huh? Right on. Thanks so much, Thomas, for joining. Thanks everybody for joining. We're about to wrap it up. That went, I know it was a lot of really small tips and extensions and everything here, but that's really how I think VS Code works best, is when you start using VS Code based on what your needs are for the task. But don't be afraid to change some settings. Definitely make sure that you know how to go into settings JSON and be able to delete and reset. But yeah, Thomas, thanks so much for showing up. Anybody else, any more questions? Lovekesh, as always, thanks for showing up. Shang, Tadeo. Yeah, just let's hang out for like maybe 2 more minutes and then we'll call it. But really, I appreciate all of you being here, hanging out with me, hanging out with us here at DigitalOcean. This was fun. This was a good one. Let me think of anything else I can, while we have 2 minutes. Really fun one is live server. So live server and live share, if you install these, let me show you live share. So live share, you got to bring back the status bar. So live share lets you do code reviews. So I can actually share my VS Code with somebody else and they can jump into my code and edit. So really fun. Last one to end on. Right on. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bring the chat back. Thanks, Z System. What's up, Ricardo? Thank you. David, awesome. Thank you. Akash, thank you for being here. Sean, thank you. Plato, thank you. Yeah, debugging will be very helpful. Maybe we'll do tests too. Debugging and testing. Cool. Well, let's wrap it up. It's a good hour of solid VS Code stuff. Hopefully you've got some tips that you can take and maybe use today. So thanks again. Have a great day, everyone. I'm gonna go get some coffee. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you so much.